Today, I'm going to show you the #1 way that you are leaving money on the table in your Etsy shop. And this is the biggest listing hack that I use to help shops grow to multi-6 figures and 7 figures. And this is that we never want to delete a listing or let it go out of stock. It is really important to learn and implement this as we head into the back half of the year. Let's first talk about deleting listings. #1, why should you not delete your listings? Because when you delete a listing, you lose its stats. So as you can see, when we take a look at inactive listings, when you turn the stats on, they have revenue and traffic and sales assigned to it. Now the traffic only reflects the last 30 days on this snapshot, but still that all-time sales and revenue is really valuable to you. And if you delete a listing, you're also losing any of that prorated time that you still have left on that listing renewal. So even though it's only 20 cents, this can really add up if you start deleting hundreds of listings. What are you supposed to do then? If you ever want to remove a listing, just deactivate it. So what you'll do is go to an active listing. You can select an entire section as well. You'll select all, and then you'll just click deactivate, and then you can reactivate them and you won't be charged that 20-cent listing fee. Now that does require that you reactivate them within the time that that listing has left before it's up for renewal. So deactivating it does not pause the time that you have before it renews. And any deactivated listings will just go to inactive. I have 798 inactive listings right now. And if you look at the listing history, it is all still here. And what this will do is even if you don't want to sell that item anymore, you still have that shell of a listing to use for something else. So you can repurpose a listing shell that has strong revenue and traffic behind it. You'll replace the photos, you'll replace the description. Now you want to leave as much of the SEO as possible, right? Because that is an asset to you. So I recommend choosing a product to put into that listing that has maybe some new but very similar SEO. Let me show you how this would look. Let's say we want to take this listing. It has sold, let's see, $49,000, 145 sales. Not bad. So we're going to click in, and what we're going to do is just remove all of the photos. We're updating the description. We're updating all the SEO, the pricing, the variations, and basically the only thing that stays is that listing shell. And this one had SEO that was really revolving around floral nursery decor. So maybe we put in some floral nursery crib sheets or some floral baby shower gifts. We want to replace it with something that has some overlap with the previous SEO. And then you're simply going to renew that listing. So basically any inactive listing that has revenue and sales history behind it, you always want to be able to use that listing shell for a new listing. And this is one of the ways to get a leg up when you're trying to create power listings, which are listings that are designed to do at least $20,000 in their lifetime. And it is by taking, let's say, a power listing that you no longer sell or that's no longer part of your product mix, using that old shell of a listing to put your new products in. You will automatically get a leg up in search results. Now, Etsy does allow you to turn on restock requests. I actually don't recommend doing this if you do have access to the product at some point in the future. So we talked about listings that you no longer plan on selling, but what about sold out listings? This is where specifically in Q4, I see so many people miss a lot of financial opportunity. There could be a couple of reasons for a sold out listing. The first one that I see is an item that is one of a kind or where it's truly out of stock. So I see this happen with vintage or with listings that are maybe one-of-a-kind artwork where there was only one created. So what you'll want to do is actually use that same listing shell, and this is if you could make this thing in a very similar way again. It doesn't have to be the exact same thing. It could be a variation of it. This is actually what my entire business was built off of. And during this time, I was still able to create power listings, and these listings did between $50,000 to over $100,000 in revenue. Basically, the first time you make something, you keep that listing going and you just update the description. You're going to make a major disclaimer that the listing photo is an example and that each one is custom made to order so that there will be slight differences between everything since these are handmade. What you can even do is have a personalization text box allowing them to request different customizations, which will further establish that listing as a customizable listing. As you are getting orders for this listing and making additional examples, you're going to want to update your listing photos to reflect all the different examples. examples. This will ensure that people can see the range of variation that they might be able to expect. Now, with a vintage item that is one of a kind, this is a little different. You are going to want to backfill that listing with an item that is very similar with all new photos. So don't leave any of the old photos in because that will create confusion with a vintage item. They do expect to receive exactly what is in the listing photo. So update the description, update the photos to reflect the new product. Now keep as much of that old SEO as you possibly can because it will help you in search results. Let's say you are selling a vintage blue plate. Now let's say that this is your plate and oh no, it's sold out. So what you're gonna wanna do is then backfill this with another blue and white toile design vintage plate. You're not going to want to backfill it with a pink vintage mug. You're gonna wanna use as much of the same SEO as possible. Update every single listing photo, update the description to have the new essential details, right? But keep as much of the SEO intact as you can. Now, you might not have a new vintage item that is a close match ready to backfill that listing with. In that case, that's fine. Just keep that listing under sold out. And when you're creating new listings for your vintage shop, always go to your sold out listings first and see if there are any listing shells that you can repurpose for that new product. Now, the key here is your SEO. You want to have as much overlap in both of these situations. So reuse as much of your old SEO as possible. Now, let's talk about if an item is actually out of stock. Like, oh no, my supplier is out of stock in this. I have 30 orders a day on this product, and now I'm gonna have to go figure something out. This is what you do. You create a pre-order business model. I probably made an extra $20,000 to $30,000 last Q4 because of this strategy. So you're gonna go into your listing, and let's say that your light pink color option is sold out. You get resourceful and you start taking pre-orders. Let's say it's the whole listing itself. Pink was the only option. You're gonna leave it open. You're going to update the shipping profile to a new shipping profile with the maximum number of weeks. And then you are going to, in your variations, create a new variation. Let's say it's light pink, ships 12/1. Oh no, we have too many characters. Take some spaces out, ship 12/1, add. Okay, now what you're gonna do is scroll down to the light pink option. Normally, make that invisible. Do not delete your variations because it is a pain in the butt to put those back. So just toggle it off and then put the new pricing into the light pink, ships 12/1. Okay, $9.99. Okay, and then when that item is ordered, if it's within a listing that has items that ship next day or within 2 days, leave the old shipping profile and just manually update the shipping date when someone places an order for that variation. So it is so simple. I have had students just make tens of thousands of dollars more in a single month just with this pre-order strategy. And then once it's back in stock, you just turn that toggle off, turn the toggle back on for the one that ships next day, and you are set. Now remember, if you ever manually move a ship date out, you can only do that one time. Etsy does not allow you to move the ship date out day by day. So I always recommend pushing it out in a way that leaves a buffer. So maybe it's an extra week, maybe it's an extra 2 weeks, depending on how reliable your suppliers are. Now, another option is, let's say the item is out of stock and let's say it's no longer being manufactured. Or let's say you have no idea if or when it would come back in stock. This is the strategy for those situations. What you're going to do is use that same listing shell. You're going to find a substitute from the same supplier or a new supplier as close as possible to the original. You're going to update all of your photos with the new product. Now remember, if you're doing Pinterest, you don't want to remove all of your photos. Really, really important here. You leave the SEO the exact same and you only update the description with any details that are very, very different from the first one. That might be size, it might be material. And this often happens, by the way, with print on demand. Let's say one print on demand provider is out of, the white wine tumbler. You have another print on demand provider. They have a white wine tumbler, but maybe the top, maybe it's not clear. Maybe it's a white top, or maybe it's like a bamboo lid. And that's why it's really good to have a whole Rolodex of the print on demand providers and all the products they have. If you do need access to that, let us know. That is part of what we offer under our resources in our program. Now, the whole point here is, as an Etsy seller, you do not want to leave money on the table when the demand is there. When circumstances happen, things things are out of stock, things are sold out, we have a one-of-a-kind item, we can't make it again. Do not accept the circumstances. Defy the circumstances, okay? There are always workarounds. And this is just one of my many workarounds with Etsy. And that comes from being on Etsy for 8 years and having 13 years in e-commerce. There's always a workaround. And if you need help finding those workarounds for your shop, just feel free to schedule a call with us. You talk to myself or my team, and we can show you exactly the strategies that we would be helping you apply to your shop. And that is through our one-on-one private coaching. The call with us, though, that's totally free. So you can schedule that. We'll leave a link to that call in the comments, and we can go through your shop with you and show you exactly what the program looks like and how these strategies would apply to you and your goals. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video.
The month before I started the program, I made $696. The first month after joining the coaching program, I made $4,149, and that came from 133 orders in my Etsy shop.